Welcome back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively merging the brands of WNST along with Baltimore Positive. That will happen sometime right around when Patrick Mahomes lands here without barbecue from Kansas City for Monday night's game. Undefeated versus undefeated. My guest is no stranger to this program. She's been on before, but now that we're in the Zoom world of video, we will welcome her in, tell you how to find her out in Kansas City on the Twitter thing at KCTV. Dani, we welcome Dani Welniak back on. From all things parade to where we are now, this has been the strangest year. I remember watching y'all get so excited down in Miami, and I don't think anybody's been out of the house since then, right?
No, it's been absolutely wild because you did have the parade and you got to celebrate it for like a week that the Chiefs had a Super Bowl victory. And then after that, even the Chiefs and the players talked about how it was such a strange offseason because usually Super Bowl champions get an opportunity to really like relish in all of it. They get to hang out with their families. They get to party. Like they are the main attraction wherever they go in the country. And they just couldn't do that because we were all in lockdown in our homes. And so I thought it was very interesting because, of course, Travis Kelce was the one who talked about it most in that he's like, we still kind of have a chip on our shoulder now going into this season because we didn't get to celebrate it the way we wanted to. So we want another Super Bowl so we could actually celebrate the way that Super Bowl champs deserve to.
Well, you might not even have a parade this time around. Like I've been weighing this, and obviously we think we're a pretty good team here too. We have some work we need to do, and everybody needs to stay healthy and clean and all that. But I thought a whole season where the fans can't go. Here, we've never had an AFC championship game at home. We've had two parades for Super Bowls. But the notion of gathering and public gathering, I'm thinking to myself, we might win a Super Bowl and no one will be able to even go and be a part of a parade when it's all over with. But I guess those are problems we have here. They don't have those in Cleveland right now. There's some other places. But for Kansas City and for the Chiefs and I think for the Ravens in the last 6 months of getting ready to think about a Monday night game between Lamar and Mahomes again, there's a lot that's gone right here to make this happen from a football perspective. I was in Houston the other day. I'm shocked that they're playing, quite frankly, where we were in May and June, even into July, and when the Marlins were dirty. I am thankful that they're playing because this is the 3 hours a week that I feel like might be the only normal thing left we have going on right now.
Yeah, the ability to have some kind of normalcy in football, it's been so refreshing. Now, yeah, from a media perspective, it's a little bit weird and different because you're interviewing players via Zoom and it's not as personal, but you're still getting a chance to watch games and they still have a regular season, even though there wasn't a preseason, which made it, kind of tough from a coverage standpoint and even for a lot of the guys themselves. But you have that normal regular season at Arrowhead here in Kansas City. They are allowing 22% of fans. So that kind of not having to pump in crowd noise has been nice to just hear it and to have that kind of ability to be back to normal. But yeah, like Major League Baseball has been super weird. It hasn't quite been normal at all. I mean, MLB and MLS were in a bubble there for a while. So to have football, National Football League games that actually matter and count, and to have the entirety of a season, knock on wood, at this point is
2 for 2.
So refreshing. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think that is a concern whether they're going to finish it. That was my concern in the summer and the spring. Are you going to start, and then how are you going to finish it? I'm not convinced they're going to finish, but I'm on the road to thinking, well, they made it this far, right? So I don't think about that part of it anymore. But I think we all did before that. Now we're thinking about, all right, well, some places have fans, some places don't. Where are these ACL injuries coming from? Do they need the preseason? All the sports talk about that. But I don't think there's any doubt that on Monday night the world will stop for football and say, these are probably the two best quarterbacks, the two most interesting stars in the game right now, and both coming off of wins over Deshaun Watson, right? I mean, there's been a separate – I left Houston on Monday morning. They're 0-2. I mean, how do you start the season like that again with that kind of schedule, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to come back from an 0-2 start, especially to get yourself mentally on a different level. So that's really tough. But the way that their season started, they faced two of the best teams so far. So you can't really take anything away from them from that perspective. But I think it's so wild that you're going into week 3 right now. Everyone's talking about how the Ravens and the Chiefs are pretty much the only two teams in the AFC. And this is like a preview of the playoffs. We're only in week 3. That's wild to think that there are playoff ramifications in a week 3 matchup between two of the league MVPs at one point. So I think it's going to be wild. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And I mean, both teams have now dealt with a little bit of the injury bug with their cornerbacks. That's one of the things they have in common is the depth at quarterback or cornerback right now. And so I think that's going to be very telling going into this week 3 matchup about how both these quarterbacks can kind of mess with the secondary.
I saw somebody put a point spread up on the game, and I'm not a gambler, but I thought, what is home field advantage in this league at this point? And I certainly felt that Sunday in Houston where, Lamar would have had a tougher time operating down there. Not that he hasn't or that crowds have affected him or any of these guys, but when you're thinking about coming into Baltimore on a Monday night game to avenge the Super Bowl champion and the MVP of the Super Bowl and the guy who's beaten us 2 years, the notion that it's going to be silent for Patrick Mahomes to operate, I started to think about being the visiting quarterback this year. This is the year that you want to come into Baltimore or want to go into Kansas City because it's going to be easier to operate.
Well, yes and no. I think last week we saw that from almost the opposite perspective as the Chiefs went into SoFi and they had a really hard time getting their energy up and getting the offense going because it just felt so slow and so stale. And so it took them a while. They played from behind until the fourth quarter whenever Harrison Butker was able to hit the game-tying field goal to send it into overtime.
Which one? There were a bunch.
I mean, there was Butker was kind of the main attraction on last Sunday. So I think it's something that can be really tough for teams to overcome is that silence, especially since Kansas City does have some kind of fan presence at Arrowhead. Having that home field advantage is evident here in Kansas City, but also now traveling to stadiums where there are no fans, they have to bring their own energy. They have to create something that they've never had to create before from the standpoint of not having fans in the stands. So, yeah, while there might not be home field advantage for teams that don't have fans in the stadium, I still think it makes it really hard for road teams because you just don't have anything. A lot of players feed off of that, even if it is hostile.
Yeah, Calais Campbell's called it BYOE, bring your own energy. That it's not going to be part of that. And these stadiums are so large and empty. I mean, the Vegas thing on Monday night, I really thought going down to Houston, it was going to be like a depressing feeling to sit in the stadium and watch it empty. I think television's done such a great job, right? I mean, if you're home and you're watching the Monday night game, the way the angles are, the way they piped it in, and the level of play without preseason, without the usual, we're going to get together and have a practice for a couple days with another team, and 6 weeks of that. I know there have been injuries, but the level of play, I thought there'd be a whole lot more flags, a whole lot more sloppiness, a whole lot more just David and Goliath than what I've seen. It's been a pretty fair fight the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, they've come out swinging, and I think that you can be impressed across the league of what you have seen without a preseason and preseason games to kind of get things going. From the Chiefs' standpoint, tackling is one of those things that they still kind of have to get into the groove of. And from the few games that I have watched, that's been one thing that I've noticed that may go back to those not having a preseason or not having preseason
Well,
games.
They haven't had contact either. There's a lot of non-contact practices, sure.
Right. So I think tackling's kind of the biggest issue right now, besides the injuries, if that's something that a lot of people want to lean on and talk about. But I do remember back in 2018, that was one of the headliners in the first 4 weeks was how many key players went down with knee injuries or season-ending injuries. And I just don't think it's necessarily related to that. Could it have some implications? Yeah, for sure. But I don't think it's just that the league didn't have preseason games that you're seeing a lot of these injuries and stuff.
She is a sports anchor at KCTV5 in Kansas City, my favorite road trip. And, if things do go bad and there's no home field advantage and I have to come out to Kansas City to get some barbecue, I hope to do it with Dani Welniak. You can find her at KCTV Dani. That's DANI. We're spending a lot of time with a bunch of Kansas City folks this week in preparation for Monday night. We're also merging WNST.net with Baltimore Positive. Want to give a shout out to our friends at Taharka Ice Cream. The key lime pie, it's gone because I ate it, made here in Baltimore and serving up social change. Make sure you're checking out our friends at Taharka, as well as our friends at Pizza John's, 687-7733. I've known that number like 45 years now. I've been ordering pizza from Pizza John's down at Back River Neck Road for a long, long time. And everybody's getting ready for football here on Monday night, and the Kansas City Chiefs coming in. The legend of Andy Reid and John Harbaugh. I have a feeling that if I got off the plane in Kansas City and I went out to the facility, the way things are run in that building would look very, very familiar to everyone here and vice versa from this relationship they've had. Give me a little primer on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes as you've seen it prior to COVID and getting through this thing. I mean, Andy Reid has been chasing this Super Bowl thing forever. Now the aftermath of this is a $450 million quarterback and champagne stories and all of this stuff. It's hasn't been a fun year out there, but I know for Andy, it's been a relief, right?
Yeah, it certainly has. And it's been fun for him too, because everybody talked about going into last year how he needed to get that ring to be a Hall of Famer. And while a lot of people can talk about how many wins he has and what he's done with the Eagles and in Kansas City, like he's turned these franchises around, it just wasn't enough. And so for him to be able to get that ring, to, be on top of the mountain and to win a Super Bowl really was a relief and something that he could celebrate. And I think just how much his players loved being able to get that win for him and get that for him was something that's really telling of how close-knit this team is and how much they love Andy and what he brings. I mean, Travis Kelce could not stop talking about how much he loves Big Red and just the relationship that they have. And Mahomes, even one of the first things he did whenever they were celebrating was give Andy Reid a huge hug and say, "We did it for you, man. We love you." And that just shows me he's not just a coach. I mean, he is at a whole different level with these guys. He loves them to their core, and he wants to build them up not only as players, but also as men. And I think you've seen that from just how Patrick Mahomes has evolved and the direction that he took with him from, having him sit out a year behind Alex Smith, and just how he was able to groom him and the relationship that they still have and how he's able to evolve. That relationship is so special. And Andy from every encounter that I've had with him is just a phenomenal human being and so easy to get along with. And what he's done here in Kansas City, he deserves that ring. And I don't think it's going to be the last one that he gets here either.
But will he bring me Jack Stack barbecue on Monday? That's the important thing. I hope so. I certainly hope so. For Lamar and your impressions from where you're sitting about tackling him and how the Chiefs defense. I mean, this is always the biggest test, right? When you play Lamar as to tackling him, what's going to happen, more weapons than he's had in the past. And the Ravens have been pretty impressive the first 2 weeks. I asked Lamar in the postgame about how many times he's making the wrong reads when he's going through watching film in the aftermath of these games. He's just seeing the field really well. He's making good decisions with the football.
Yeah, he is. And just based off of the first 2 weeks, I mean, the Ravens look really, really good right now. And the Chiefs have had two kind of slow starts, which isn't very encouraging. But these guys are the comeback kings, and they've proven not only last week that they're capable of coming back and winning, but also during the playoffs last year and even the Super Bowl. So when they play from behind, they play even better. And I think Patrick Mahomes is even smarter when he has to make those adjustments on the fly. And like you're mentioning with Lamar, he's being able to see the field a lot better. And one of the things he wanted to do coming into this season was to make adjustments, was to do stuff when he gets to that line of scrimmage, call audibles, check down, more than just forcing the ball deep. And his first year as a starting quarterback, we saw a lot of that. There was a lot of forcing the ball deep. Did he make amazing plays? Yeah, absolutely. But he's becoming a smarter quarterback. And I think ultimately that makes him a better quarterback, even if he's not putting up the same kind of numbers, because he's able to control this offense, and the offense and his teammates have the confidence in him that he's going to be able to will this team to a victory no matter how far they are from behind. So I think that's something Lamar is getting to that point. But I do think that Mahomes' experience has definitely helped him, especially getting through an entire postseason and also winning a Super Bowl.
Well, the playing from behind part has not worked that well for us at all. So
No.
I would be just great if you guys are playing from behind on Monday night. So that would work for us in the third quarter. It's really good to visit with you. I'm sorry we're not having crab cake in here, and I know some of your crew's traveling, some of you are not, and it is a weird time to be in the sports business, Danny. That's all I can say.
Yeah, well, you'll just have to send me the crab cakes, and I'll send you the barbecue. So we'll just swap that way.
Now, I got some faith these crab cakes that they ship pretty well. I don't know how you're going to ship those onion rings, though, from Jack Stack, though. I think they're going to flop on me on the way in here.
They might, but we'll find a way. I believe
I'm telling you, playoff game in Kansas City. It's my favorite road trip of the year. I gain weight when I'm in Kansas City. I like it. Danny, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Dani Welniak joining us here. She is KCTV Danny, out on Twitter as well as at KCTV5. All of our WNST coverage and our merger brought to you by our friends at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast, the tasty chicken, the two-piece, the roll, and the Western fries. Get a little gravy with it as well. Pump your gas there. Make sure you stop by and get your coffee as well. Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. Make sure you get that rewards card too. And our friends at Planet Fitness, you can work out, you can work in. Go to planetfitness.com to learn more about all that they're doing and doing safely at a Planet Fitness near you. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net. AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore positive.